my mom jumps up and starts screaming, "Is there a doctor? Is there a doctor? Please, my baby's choking." Hi, welcome back to Mother Knows Best Sometimes. I'm Charlie. I'm here with my mom, Patty.
Hi.
And I'm Mindy, and I'm here with my mom, Denise.
Hello.
And today we will be discussing moms in emergencies. So,
Nobody introduced Pumpkin.
Pumpkin is here too. It is storming, so y'all are gonna get to see thunderstorm Pumpkin.
Yeah. Oh, poor baby.
yeah, so today we're talking about moms in emergencies. So, moms in cases of emergency when there's something urgent or something happens, you don't know what to do. We feel like for the most part, we always call our moms, but I feel like it's like a pretty common thing. A lot of times, like people call their moms, and moms tend to be good in emergencies, like in terms of like, I think how helpful they are, but also in terms of like the calming energy they provide. So
My mom does not provide
I'm
calming
a nerd.
energy.
Yeah, I panic.
She
But
I
I'm
was just
still
gonna
there.
say.
I'm still there, but
she shows up, but it's showing up in a panic.
yeah.
I was just gonna say, not everybody has that option. So
well, Mindy, do you want to start since you've had an emergency recently?
Sure. I had an emergency 2 weeks ago now, right? Or a week ago? A little bit over a week ago. I was, and let me start. Okay, it has to do with my car, and my car has been fine. It just got new tires on it. Whenever we went to St. Lucia, and they, said what they recommended the next like work done to be, but it wasn't anything extreme. It was like some rotator ball cuff thing, like nothing that seemed life or death for the car,
Nothing
right?
urgent.
Nothing
isn't
urgent.
that in the shoulder?
I know that sounds like a body part.
Rotator cuff. Yeah, it was ball
Some
joint, ball joints
or something.
ball
Yeah,
joints.
ball joint. Yeah.
Apparently, daughters right sometimes as well.
Um, so didn't like move forward getting anything done with the car. And then Friday, I was on my way to work, which I have to drive across a bridge to get to work. And on the bridge, I mean, I was in traffic, luckily, but like everything just stopped working. Like my car turned off, like power steering wasn't working, brakes weren't working, like everything
It was
just
just
shut
dead.
down. It was like dead.
Yeah.
And so I was like trying to maneuver it to where I could get to the side, and ended up like barely hitting another car and like scraping this old van. And
Because
so
you were like still rolling. You were like rolling from the momentum, but you couldn't. The gas pedal wouldn't respond. Okay.
yeah, none of the pedals would respond, but I was still like kind of rolling from the momentum. And I was trying to like I was in the middle lane and trying to get to the left lane. And so the first person I called was my mom.
Yeah.
And she showed up quickly and basically took over. Like she called the tow truck. She gave me her car. We like switched and I took her car so that I could still go to work, and she like waited with the waited for the tow truck, brought it to got it towed to a mechanic shop and literally handled everything.
Yeah, but it's my job.
I was just gonna say, yay, mom.
Yeah,
She didn't panic. She knew what to do.
yeah. But
Do you think she was panicked, Mindy? Like when she said like she always panics, did you get the energy from her?
No, actually that day I don't feel like you were that panicked.
because I was more concerned with her because that's every girl's nightmare to me is to die, especially on a bridge.
Yeah.
And when there's traffic going to go across Crescent City connection. I mean, it's just a nightmare. And to
Yeah.
know that she had to endure that. But luckily, she is 27, and this is the first time, that she's had to endure car troubles. My goodness, I have drove some craps. You know what I mean? I used to drive one from here to Harahan to a life insurance company that I worked at. This car, it was an Oldsmobile Cutlass. I would drive it from my house in Marrero to Harahan, pull into the parking spot, and it would explode. I mean, everything, because and I cracked the block. The block was cracked. So before I left for work, I'd work my 8 hours. I'd fill the radiator up with water. I'd drive it home, and it would explode in the front yard. So that's just, I have drove it, but it got me where I was going. But
And that was the Huey,
yeah, the Huey P. Long.
which
Oh,
is
that's
worse.
Yeah, but it made it across every time. I just had to go to have. But if
Yeah.
yeah, it
But
was,
there's nowhere to pull. Well, back then there was nowhere to pull over. I mean, it was just
yeah,
that was a scary.
yeah. As long as it stayed moving, but hers died. See, they said it was a coolant issue, so they changed all of these things in it, the radiator and all of that. But hers didn't explode. It's just like the car shut down when it got too hot. You see,
I
it
wonder
just,
if it was some kind of sensor.
yeah. So something, because even the thermostat stayed good. And I said, well, how come the thermostat didn't show hot? And the guy said it was probably not wherever it wasn't building up. The pressure was being lost before it got to the
Oh
thermostat.
my gosh, that's the whole reason they have that.
Yes. And I remember my brother telling me, no matter what happens, as long as your car's not running hot, you keep the car moving. Don't worry about stopping. You get somewhere safe, you drive it.
Yeah.
But if it's running hot, you pull over. You pull over and stop, because you'll
Yeah.
crack your block. But I
Yeah.
used to do that for that Oldsmobile Cutlass. Oh my goodness. And yeah, it did have a cracked block. That's probably why it kept,
Yeah.
But yeah, I had no warning. Like the
yeah, she
sensor,
had no warnings.
nothing, no warnings.
Yeah.
I think you kind of have to put that in perspective too, as far as the bridge, because, saying bridge, it sounds like this nice, sweet little overpass, but that's like how many lanes is it now? 5 lanes on one way or 6 lanes one way?
It's like 5. They have
Yeah.
one closed right now because they're doing construction too.
So
But-
that's
And
a
it's
pretty
busy.
significant bridge. It goes over almost the widest part of the Mississippi River. And so it's very high, very wide. You don't want to get into an accident there. So that's pretty scary, Mindy.
Mhm.
And yeah. And another thing too is that Mindy doesn't cry. I mean, she may be to her friends or something, but she doesn't cry, and she's very calm all the time. So as soon as I pulled up, she was, I could tell that she was still calm. But as soon as, because I know how I am, once you have the release of security from somewhere else, and that was me because I'm her mom, she cried. And it's like, oh, that's the worst feeling in the world, because I knew she had to be, the release of it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Oh yeah, it was terrible. It was a terrible, terrible day.
Yeah.
And then she goes, "Okay, I'm on my way to work." I was like, "You're going to work?" I'm like, "I'll be going home." I'll be like,
For
"I
my
need to-"
listener, for the listeners, I did not stay at work. I ended up getting to work, kept crying, and then I was like, I'm going home.
And it was nice too, the man that she hit, he was also very nice, a very nice older man. He was very, very pleasant.
Good.
Until he
Good.
tried to tell me what I did wrong.
yeah.
Like, oh, next time you should just stay there. Don't try to get over. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh.
let your car die in the middle of a 5-lane interstate and see if you just are like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here. Like,
No, I think
no.
it's more dangerous to sit, because then you'll just get hit. You could cause a whole pile up if you do that.
You don't know what you're going to do until you're in
No,
that
you
situation.
don't. You don't. And to
Yeah.
me, you
I
always
mean,
try to get out the road.
Yeah.
very easy to tell people what to do, but when you're in that situation,
Yeah, but he was just doing like a daddy or grandpa thing to say what to do next. Next or her next time.
yeah,
Mm.
But he was very nice.
He was nice overall,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
good.
But it's-
I have like a car related, it's not as scary as that, but it's funny, like, and it wasn't me directly, but like I feel like I've always called my mom in cases of like emergency, or when I'm like scared or like need help. Like I'm just like even now, like I'm like, second something happens, I'm not even thinking twice, I'm calling her. And whenever we were in college, Nate and I had not been dating long. In fact, he had not actually met my mom and dad. Yeah, it was the Friday of spring break. We were going to spend, I think, like a day or two in New Orleans, and then we were going to fly up to meet them. And Nate was driving my car, and I'm like in the passenger seat, and he like turned, and I don't know what happened, but he like hit the curb like pretty intensely, to where like it cracked the hubcap, but like, it didn't do anything bad to it. It just like, ruined the look or whatever. Like it was still drivable. And Nate he felt so horrible that he did that. And I don't know why I call my mom, because it couldn't have been that big of a deal. Or I think maybe it's because he was so upset. I'm like, it's not a big deal. And he was like, I'm so sorry. Like he just felt so horrible. I call my mom and put her on speakerphone, and she literally started talking to Nate like, "Baby, don't worry about it. It's literally fine. Everything's gonna be okay." And we were talking about it this morning. He goes, and that's when I knew I had to do anything I could to get in this family. Like, he said it was so calming. I always say, did you marry me for my mom and dad or for me? Like, did you? Um, but
We love
like,
our Nate.
and it wasn't really an emergency because nothing like actually wrong happened. It just like broke the thing. And but my mom was like convinced him and like calmed him down. He felt like so much better after he talked to you. And but I do feel like sometimes I feel like you're always like the calming energy if it's happening and you're not in the situation per se. Like you're outside and I'm calling you and you're like, it's gonna be okay. This is what we're gonna do. Like you say, this is the next step, you know. But I know there are stories when you're actually in the situation where it sounds like you like aren't calm. You're like you're going to be there to like resolve something hopefully, but you're not going to be like necessarily the calm energy because there are two stories that now I was there but I was baby and I don't remember. But my dad tells these stories.
Wait, let
One,
me give a precursor, please. But your dad is dramatic.
he is. He's
And
one of
so
the
his stories are a little embellished and not exactly what
yeah.
happened.
I will say that he's one of the most dramatic people I've ever met. So, but I'm gonna tell it the way he tells it, just because it's like this is the only account that
Because
I.
it's the best way to embarrass her mom.
So when I was like a baby, like how old, mom? Like one?
No,
I'm talking about the restaurant.
maybe 1.5. I know exactly what you're talking about. 1.5.
So we
Probably.
were at a restaurant and they were breaking off like little pieces of chip to like give to me and I was like eating them and I started to like kind of choke on a chip like I was like my dad says it was like a my mom says it was more of a dramatic like she's choking, type of a reaction. But immediately my dad said before he could even like ask if I was okay or pat my back or anything, my mom jumps up and starts screaming, "Is there a doctor? Is there a doctor? Please, my baby's choking. Please, somebody help me." And by the time like she's doing that, like my dad said I was like done coughing and I was just looking up like with my mouth like completely dropped open, like what is going on? And then she slowly, I think he's like, Patty, she's okay. And she just like slowly sat down. It was like, never mind. So the calming energy wasn't there, but it was still like if I would have been choking, not on your watch. Like somebody was going
Your
to,
mom would have handled it.
it would have been, I would have survived. And then the second one was, how old was I? I was younger.
Same disclaimer.
And you know what? I will give you this too, mom, is that I didn't realize that. Remember, you had told this on the birth story, I think, that the day I was born, I had started choking, like and turning blue
Yes.
from the. So that probably traumatized you. So I will give you that too.
Oh,
Like,
it definitely traumatized me. I wanted the nurse to come home with me.
yeah.
The
So,
hospital. So the
but the
second
second,
one, you were much younger. You were still in a backward facing car seat. So
so a
6
baby.
months, maybe.
And they had, this is also related to car troubles. So what was wrong with the car?
So the gas, we purchased gas somewhere, and the gas station had water that had gotten into the gas. And so when you pumped your gas, you were getting gas and water. Well, that doesn't work in cars because the gas is heavier than water, so gas sinks to the bottom and the water raises to the top. And so what's going through the system is the water, but there's still some gas left in it. So you're getting a little bit of gas and a little bit of water. And so the water would make the car stop, just like Mindy's. So it would just stop on a dime.
Okay, so they're taking the General de Gaulle
Oh,
exit.
but we didn't know that at the time. We found that out after.
Oh, okay. So they're taking the General de Gaulle exit, like if you're coming across the river to the West Bank, and you know that exit, and it has that big curve, like that. I always thought it felt almost like a roller coaster because it curves so sharply and then like goes down kind of sharply.
Mhm.
And so it stopped on that sharp curve. It just went dead. And immediately, like again, this is how my dad tells it. Before he could even think about like what to do, he like looked over and all he saw was my mom's butt because she was hanging out the window with a cookbook waving it because she was afraid like people weren't gonna see and like hit the
Wait,
back. And I was in the back. And
Because
so
we were in that curve.
yes.
yeah, she was just like waving it so like nobody, and I think he says like one like family passed and they were just like looking like because all she had was a cookbook to use. And so again, not calming, but you're very like what is the word, like reactive, like you're going to like make sure immediately like you're jumping into it.
Well, you
Like
were going to get hit first
yes,
because you were in the back seat, and that's what would have gotten hit first. So I was like, and I knew I couldn't get out because we were in that curve.
yeah.
So, and
They
we had
don't go
just left
slow.
my mom's house and I had borrowed her cookbook, and that's why I had her cookbook. If I had not borrowed her cookbook, I don't know.
It just would have been your arms like
Your shirt.
Probably.
Oh my-
They don't go slow, so they would have
No.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. It's like they think it's a roller coaster too, so they try to go as fast as they can.
yeah.
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 So yeah, and that's mostly true. That is mostly true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that why you don't get Walmart's gas? Because there was a time when Walmart's gas had water in
Yeah,
it?
well, yeah. And I don't get Walmart's gas. And it wasn't my got man that came into the post office claimed that Walmart gas, he would it happened to him where he got water in the gas at Walmart.
Yeah, I don't think we ever bought Walmart. So there was somebody else out there.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think they did it on purpose because
Right, no.
New Orleans is below sea level, so it
Yeah.
would have probably been very easy to get it in the tanks. But it always would seem to do it, and it didn't do it for a very long time because we kept trying to figure out what was going on with it, and finally somebody that knew what to do told us what happened. But it would always be either on an incline or a decline because the water would shift in the gas tank. When we were driving straight, it never happened, and we could not figure out what is going on with this car. And so, it would always catch us by surprise until we figured it out. It's like it's inclines and declines. Well, at that point, my husband said, we gotta get this car fixed because we're not
That's
carrying this
amazing.
cookbook around with us all the time.
Yeah, and I did make it to 28. I've made it so far to 28 years old, so I am like thankful
Thank you.
that
Yeah,
because
thank
I would
you.
rather an overreaction than an underreaction than something goes wrong. So
I would like to also confirm that I am also 28 because
Yes,
I think every episode my mom says she's 27 and I am not. I am 28.
I
I
can't
would
get to
say.
28. I cannot wrap my head around 28 for some reason.
Charlie does the same thing because I round her up to 30. She's like, I'm not 30 yet.
Okay, that's extreme. I'd rather be 27.
that's what I was like, I am not 30. Like, don't, which nothing wrong with that. It's gonna be great when I'm 30,
I
but
just rounded
don't-
up.
You got 2 years.
me.
Also on emergencies, Charlie actually sent me an Instagram reel that it was like this girl showing texts from her mom. And her mom had texted her and was like, "Where are you? Are you okay?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'm at a bar with a friend." And her mom responded and was like, "Get out now." Her mom had a dream, and the daughter was just like, "No, it's literally fine, like it's so chill." And she was like, "I'm not gonna say it again, get out now." There was blood everywhere in her dream. And so the daughter was like, "Okay, fine, we're leaving, like we're home now." And then the next day there was an article that there was like 8 people died at that bar because of a shooting.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm not that clever. Yeah.
And
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
she was literally like, "No, mom, I'm fine." And her mom's like, "I'm not gonna say it again." And that's when you know you gotta listen. When they're like, "I'm not gonna say it again." And so she was like, "Okay, I'm leaving. I'm leaving." But
Oh,
yeah,
that's terrifying.
and that happened similar to me. Like sometimes like my mom would just be like, "No, you can't do that." And I'm like, "But why?" Because she always would say like, "Oh, this is why, blah, blah, blah." But sometimes she would be like, "I don't know. I just have this like bad feeling you can't do it." And my big sister at AOL wanted to go take me. She was going to like a mall like in Baton Rouge or something, and she invited me to go, and my mom said no. And I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "I just have a really bad feeling about it." Well, when she was there was literally a guy with a gun that came into the mall and there was a shooting, and my big sis had to hide in a like clothing rack to like hide from him. And then on the way home, their car broke down. They were stuck on the side of the road for hours.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I told my mom that. She was like, that's like that. Like I had a bad feeling. That's why I said no. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so crazy. Like,
Yeah.
so
And I think
that,
that's happened a couple of times. And sometimes I just don't know why. It's just like, I don't know why, but I just feel strongly you shouldn't do that. And then it'll happen. It doesn't work all the time. I don't know what it is. I don't have any special power or anything. It's not like
It doesn't
But-
work all the time.
that.
but Mama D, I feel you do have that because Mindy, hasn't there been instances where she is like, for some reason, I just don't like this person.
Oh,
yeah, with
oh,
that
with
you have?
people. Oh,
And
yeah.
then it comes out that she was right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with people.
People 100%. I don't know if there's been a time where you've told me not to go
I know.
somewhere or do something.
Well, I didn't want y'all to go. Charlie wanted you and her to go to the beach one night or something. And I said, no, you're not. How often do I have to tell you no? I think that's been the only
Oh.
time. And I said, no.
What happened? Anything happened?
Nothing. No, they
Well,
didn't go.
we didn't go, so I guess we wouldn't have known like what could have happened.
But they
I bet
wanted to
something
one night.
happened. I bet something would have happened if we
Because I
would've-
remember being shocked. Because I remember saying it casually. Because I think it might have even said like me and Charlie are going, and she was like, "No," and I was like, "What?" Like,
Yeah,
because she
you
never said
told me
no.
no.
Yeah, I think I said you never tell me no, but she would not let me go. It was like senior year.
Yeah.
Maybe
something
junior year.
happened.
Yeah.
Because
No,
I
mean,
didn't
it was,
go.
it was a kind of flaky idea to begin with. So it's just y'all don't usually have those flaky ideas. So, that just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I
Um,
think moms have intuition, to a
Yeah.
certain degree.
Right.
But when it
Wow.
comes to people, yeah, my mom is pretty on point with people that you won't really have a reason either. It'll just be like, no, I don't like them. And then it might be years later, something comes up and it's like, my mom knew from day one.
I'm not that
Yeah.
good with myself, but I'm good with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
I can,
Yeah. There was Nate's friend, so it was like I guess freshman year of college, him and his brothers and a friend were going on a ski trip in Colorado, like on winter break. And his mom just told him, like, no, you can't go. And she couldn't give a reason. She said she had a really bad feeling. And so he was like, sorry, I can't come. Like, my mom is like being really like adamant that like I can't go. And then they ended up, so like just Nate and his brothers, they got in a really bad accident that totaled the whole car. Like his brother was driving and it totaled his whole car. They ended up being stranded for like hours. Like the police had to bring them to like a gas station or something. And they ended up having to call like a third cousin they have or something that lives a few hours away to like stay with them. But I think about that too, because I'm like, oh, his mom knew. She said, like, I have a bad feeling. And again, like
And that
and
guy
it's not
didn't go?
no, he didn't go. Yeah, he didn't go because his
Yeah.
mom was like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
so
But that's very hard for a mom to reveal those kind of things because you could reveal it and say, I don't know, I just have a bad feeling, I'm not sure what it is, and then nothing happens. And then the next time your mom says that, you're like, yeah, you said that before, but it didn't happen.
Mhm.
But then you also can say, okay, well, I'm not going to say anything. It's just a silly feeling. And then something happens because, you could have prevented it or you could have prevented your child. So it's to me, it's a difficult situation for a parent to be put in, to have those feelings. And I believe probably majority of parents have them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the
Mhm.
night before the car broke down, when I was leaving to go to work, Mindy's car smelled funny. And I picked on the window. I said, hey, you don't notice your car smells funny. And I did
Literally the night before.
the night before. And I just went to work, didn't think nothing of it. And that happened. But it did smell funny. I
Did you
Like
should
smell
what? Like a
Mindy?
burning type
No,
of
yeah,
or
kind of like,
melting, something melting or something?
yeah, I don't, it just, yeah,
Mhm.
I guess. And I should have had her pop the hood, me look, because I would have saw maybe that it was low on fluid or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just, I smelled it and I knew that something, but from previous mechanics, we do know that car has many oil leaks, so oil is always dripping somewhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
So it
it
was easy
smelled
to dismiss it.
right. But I knew
Yeah.
that, I had never smelled it before. I had never stopped and smelled her car and it smelled weird. But
Yeah.
Mm.
yeah, I should have
And Mindy,
listened.
did you smell it?
No, she probably just
I was
stayed
in my
the
room. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't come outside because it was the night that we had went to the movie. So I had just gotten home from driving from Clearview movie theater home, which is like
Yeah.
25 minutes. And it was fine. Nothing was wrong with it. Drove home, parked, and then my mom was leaving for work. And so when she got out, she was like,
I had to cross the car to get to my car.
and so she was standing outside of my window and she like knocked on the window and said, I think you said like, your car smells funny. Was it okay? And I was like, yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Everything was
now
fine.
I know to, next time I will pop the hood. Not that I'd be able to see anything, but we could have swapped cars the next day. I had to have Uncle Pete look at it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm like even wondering like if it really smelled or if it was like some type of sixth sense or something
Yeah.
that you were just like,
Oh no,
you
don't give me that credit. No, it smelled.
know.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't anything as bad as it could have been,
Oh, I
Mindy.
know.
That
Oh
could have
yeah.
been so much worse. Like that's
Really could have been on that
Yes.
bridge.
And even the guy that helped, the DOTD guy that works the
they were
bridge,
so nice.
they were just so nice, so nice.
Really?
They like
Mhm.
followed behind me while I was driving off the bridge to like make sure like nothing happened. He
Yeah,
was
because
so
it
nice.
cranked after a little, it cranked to get her off the road, off the bridge.
Yeah.
Wow.
So everybody was just super, super.
Yeah.
So we're still driving that car.
Hey.
She's fixed and I'm driving
Yeah.
her again. I just have trust issues with her now. There's been one morning where she acted funny and I was like, I'm not taking her. But
I wouldn't.
so far so good. It's an emergency when I broke my pinky. Felt like you were calm in that situation.
Oh yeah, because I didn't think it was broke. And I didn't think it was broke because the coach
Coach
also
didn't think
did
it was
not
broke.
think it was
And
broke.
I'm staring at my purple swollen finger sticking out to the side and everybody's telling me, no, it's not broken.
He thought
And
it
I'm
was
like,
jammed. He thought it
what does a
jammed.
broken finger look like?
I think I also like I call my mom when it's like if I'm like really sick. Like I know there were 2 times. Once in high school when I had the flu, and then which was probably the sickest I've ever been until recently. It was the sickest I'd ever been. I like thought I was gonna die. Like there were like 2 whole days that I don't remember anything because
Oh
like,
wow.
I was just like knocked out. And my mom said she remembers she
Had a
just
high
like
fever.
yeah, like leave for work and I was like, please come sit here and just pray for me. And I don't even really remember that but I just thought it would like make me, feel better. And then, in Iceland, when I got like so sick, that was more sick than I feel like I'd been when I had the flu. And I like literally felt like I was actually like transitioning. Like when they say people are like dying, they start like hallucinating and you get like an overwhelming piece of like, okay, like I can die, like it's fine. I got to that point and I was just like, whatever. And I had called my mom and dad to like, in my mind, I didn't tell them this, but I was like, I just want to like talk to them like one more time. When I tell you, I thought I was dying. Like I was like hallucinating my grandparents who have died. I was like seeing them and like it was like really crazy. And I was like, I just want to like tell them goodbye. And I was like in the car and they were talking to me and it like made me feel like so much better. And it gave me the strength. Like when Nate got back in the car, I was like, I want to go to the ER. Like it was almost like I had accepted, like I'm gonna die. And then it was like something talking to them. Something was just like, just go to the ER. Cause I was like, I don't, like I had already like gotten to that point that I'm like, I'll just like, I guess die in this car here. I don't know. That would have been pretty traumatic for y'all to come back to the car and I'm just like dead. But something in that, like, I don't know, I guess it gave me hope or something. And then Nate got back and I'm like, I need to go to the ER. And so like, I feel like if I'm like really, really sick or like if a migraine is really, really bad, I tell Nate to call my mom. Like if it's like a really bad migraine and he like puts her on speaker and I just like want to like I'm not talking to her or anything, but I just like want to hear her voice and it like comforts me. Like it makes me feel better. So those aren't like emergencies per se. Well, probably the dying one, but like the
dying one
other
was.
ones, yeah, like aren't necessarily emergencies, but bad or stressful.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard being so far away because I've never had
Yes.
experience of you calling me and saying, okay, I'll be there in a second. I've never had that experience
Yeah.
because we've always been so far away. And so that is very, very hard to know that your child needs you and you can't get there.
Yeah.
Your adult child needs you and you can't get there.
Yeah.
But, I'm grateful for telephones.
I don't think I've ever been that sick.
Yeah, Mindy don't get sick that severely.
Mm-mm.
Oh my God, it was so bad. It was so, so bad.
That was bad. And Charlie's never really been sickly, but she has had a couple of times, when she's been sick like that.
I also feel like when it comes to emergencies, like you panic sometimes, but when it's like serious things, like when there was a time where someone shot like with a gun at my uncle in the backyard. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then or was that the same time that someone tried to steal the four-wheeler?
Okay. No, no, no,
We used to
that
have
wasn't the
some
full.
really sketchy
Yeah,
neighbors.
we had some sketchy
okay,
neighbors.
and all kind of bad things happened when we had these sketchy neighbors.
Yeah.
But you were like going outside and stuff, and I remember being scared in the living room because the guys that were trying to steal the four-wheeler were like in the woods right there.
Yeah,
Like they were
little,
hiding in the woods,
yeah.
and they were like kids, I guess.
Yeah.
But like she was like going outside and like.
Well, the time they tried to steal the four-wheeler, it was kids. I mean, I saw them, so they were kids, and that's why even Uncle Pete thought Mindy didn't know them because she was at that age, where.
I didn't know.
But no, Mindy.
The cop asked me too if I knew if I would know them. I'm like,
kids. They
know
were
them.
taunting. They was at the edge of the thing, taunting. At the edge of the woods, taunting us because they had to leave the four-wheeler because I had it blocked in with my car. I parked there. So that. And so, I knew they were kids. The time that somebody shot at, I don't know the situation that happened, but it was the kind of, when they shot this gun, 2 houses down, they had the little pellets in their house. You see, so what is that? A shotgun or whatever that
Yeah.
that spews. I don't remember going outside. I don't know what happened because the cops came and they had gotten into the shed. I was trying to get into the shed. So that happened a while back.
Still trying to steal the four-wheeler. It
Still
was always the four-wheeler.
always we got a four-wheeler and suddenly it was like gold. And there was one time too where somebody came out of the woods on a motorcycle and I saw him go into my neighbor's one house over into their backyard, and they were stealing this four-wheeler. I mean, they were stealing this motorbike. Not ours though this time. So I did go out there for that because I saw them and that house was empty. I knew nobody should be going in that backyard.
But she just like there's no fear. Like they could have a gun. Like it's like she's like, hey, like going out there confronting.
No, because trust me, I am spineless.
You know what it is? She's tall. She's tall.
I count that for a lot of things because I'm a big girl, and it's like I fall back on that because trust me, I am spineless. If they're not going to be scared of me just as my appearance, then they're not. I'm going to be, I'm going back in my shell. I'm not,
Well, do you think it has to
Hmm?
do with like if it's someone else, like almost like protecting someone else, like you're brave, but if it's like going to happen to you, it's like whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It just works out that way because trust me, I am really a spineless human being.
I feel like in the moments though, you're not.
Right.
I'm in there like I'm staying away from the windows. I'm not going outside. Like And she's just like opening the door. Granny's the same way though. Granny will walk out there like she'll see somebody sketchy and she like opens the door and is like looking, and then she closes it and locks it. But they both like. I don't know. It's so weird. And I'm the opposite. I'm like staying as far like against the wall. Like I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, like recently, and I'm talking recently, like within the last month and a half, there was this big guy walking down the street with a suitcase. And I've seen him before. I don't know what the deal is with him, but he's not an old guy. He's a young fella, but he's big, and he pulls a suitcase and he's gay. You can tell by the way he talks and the way he acts that he's gay. So that, I ain't got no problem with that. And maybe that's why I'm not scared of him because I just assume gay people are nice people. So I spoke to him before, but anyway, I wasn't home this day. And so my mama described to me what happened. There was a guy pulling a suitcase and he went across the street and took their ball because they have kids that live across the street. And she goes, and I went out there and said, is that your ball? And then he told my mama, yeah. And she said, she knew he was lying. But my mama is only 5'4". My mom's not tall. I think she's 5'4" maybe.
She's also 92.
Yeah, and she's 92, but she was ready to scrap with this. And I'm talking, he's taller than me. And he pulls a suitcase, so you automatically think he's a little crazy, and she wouldn't know he was gay. I'll talk to him. But yeah, she went out there and confronted him about taking that ball. Is that your ball? And he said yes and walked away with it. So it's not like she could jump on his back or nothing, but yeah, she confronted him.
That's
That
funny.
is so funny. Like,
Yeah.
Even the other night, this is an example too. The other night, this was probably like a
Uh-huh.
couple weeks ago, I was driving home and it was late, and there was this guy like a street down in the middle of the road, like walking weird, like he just looked sketchy. And so I get home and I tell my mom, I was like, "Hey, there's like a sketchy guy walking around a street away." And she's like, "I want to go walk outside and see if I can see him." And I'm like, I'm saying it as in like, because the door was open when I got home. So I'm saying it in like, oh, I'm closing the door. Like, this guy's sketchy. And she's like, "You think I can see him if I walk to the corner? I can walk to the corner with Pumpkin." And I'm like,
Well,
and she's like, "I want to see if it's the guy I know." And I'm like, okay.
because I know most of the crazies in my neighborhood. I know, I know the site of them, or I know their name, or I know where they live. So I kind of thought, I thought of who it might be. So I wanted to see if it was him, because he is a little crazy. He goes off his meds or something. He gets a little cuckoo. And, but anyway, he wasn't out there.
So
in
she
some
just go
of these
look.
situations, it sounds like you're almost like a mom trying to create an emergency. Like, just stay in the house. We don't need to go. And like, that is so funny.
That is
But my
fun.
mom shouldn't have went out there for the crazy guys, little as my mama is.
And is old. Like, not even size. She is 92.
Well, she has tall energy. So, she's small, but, I feel like
Yeah.
she has assertive, very like,
Yeah.
that reminds me, like, I feel like when it comes to like me, that's why I asked, like, if something's gonna happen to me, I'm like, whatever, just let it happen. Like, but then if it comes to like people that I like really love, something happens and I don't even make a conscious effort. So I'm gonna preface this by saying I know I'm paranoid. Nobody needs to tell me this before I tell the story. But we were in the movie theater the other night, and like it was me, Nate, and my dad, and I'm like sitting between them, and then we're kind of like sitting like in the middle, and this man had come in like 30 minutes into the movie, and he was acting super sketchy, like super sketchy, and he was sitting alone at the bottom, and I was just like, something like bothered me, and I was like, am I like being paranoid? He kept doing these like weird things. He had a bag, and he kept like, and I literally was like, does he have a gun? Like, is he gonna like shoot up this theater? And I just leaned over to Nate. I'm like, that guy, is he acting sketchy to you? And Nate literally was like looked at him for a minute, and then he was like, yeah, he's acting really sketchy. I said, I'm going to check it out. And before anybody could tell me, I went down there and I stood behind the man because I was trying to see, and I literally thought, if I see a gun, I'm jumping on his back. Like, there's no way he's like touching my dad or Nate. Like, this will not happen. And then I saw he had a flask, so he was drunk and sneaking alcohol in. That's why he was acting sketchy. So I wasn't wrong about the sketchy thing, but why was,
Right.
but I do that, like,
Oh
and
my
if it's
gosh.
again, if it's just me, I'm like, you can kill me. Like, I just, but if it's like, there have been multiple times like we hear a noise and we're like in the middle of the night in bed, I literally just jump up before Nate can do anything, and I'm running out and I'm like, who is here? Like, I'm like trying to, but if it was just me in the house, I'd be like, go ahead, come, like, it doesn't matter. Like, but it's something like takes over me when it's like somebody like I really care about, and it's like, I'm like gonna like, I don't know.
Protect him. You're
And I
gonna
could have
protect
taken
him.
that man from behind. He wouldn't have seen me coming. I was behind in a dark theater. It
And he
would
was
have been like,
drunk.
Yeah, he was
and he
drunk.
was drunk.
You had the edge.
Yeah.
When you're small, you can jump up and then you can peel their eyes back, scratch like. Oh, well, should we move on to our question?
Yes. Who wants to answer it first?
So, because my mom's IT guy is out of the office, we can't figure out how to turn down her volume. So this will be a special edition where they both hear the question. So, Mama D, you'll answer first, and then Mom, you'll answer after when she's done.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we got a question from one of our listeners, and the question is, what do you do in a friendship when it's someone that you don't really want to be friends with, you want to distance yourself from them, but they are pushing and not letting the friendship go?
Okay. If there's only one, I mean, if you want the friendship to end, if one of these people wants the friendship to end, it's going to end. Period. No matter how much they push.
So how would you tell that person to respond? Like, if the person's pushing, they're still reaching out, they're still
Yeah, it's over.
forcing
It's
themselves.
done. Yeah, it's done. It's over. It's done. This friendship has died. And I think every friendship, not, maybe your best friend type thing, but every person that comes into your life and they are your friend, okay, everybody serves a purpose, okay? When there's no longer a purpose, that friendship is going to die. You can't stay friends with everybody you ever meet in your life. That would be draining. So when things come to an end, sometimes somebody doesn't do anything wrong. It's just that you grow apart different things. And when you're friends, you also discover things that okay, the longer you know them, the less and less you like them. So, it will die. They will accept it eventually because they're going to have to find another friend. How sad. So, yeah. But if they know, if the friendship's genuinely not over, if it was good from the big, if it was good and, it's just a issue that's got to be resolved, it will. But either way, both of them need to just let go. And they will. They'll get it. May just take them a little longer, but it'll sink in. You want me to tell them? You want me to call them?
No.
She's like, this is an emergency. Let me handle
Miss Patty?
How do you
So I
like it?
did have a few extra minutes to think about that. So, I kind of have a little bit of a different answer, and my answer is first, well, I'm gonna put myself in the situation. The first thing that I would do is try to evaluate why do I not want to be friends with them? And I really was thinking about this just about 2 or 3 days ago. It's like, I know that I have been around people that have just irritated me that wanted to be friends with me, but they just really irritated me and I just didn't give them the time of day. And I feel really bad about that. Not that I should have done anything different. I don't really know. That's all over and done. I'm talking years. But I would now that I'm older, I would want to evaluate why don't I want to be friends with them? Is it because they irritate me? And I need to rethink that because I do believe that people are inherently good for the most part. There are some people that are not, but most people are really just trying to do the best that they can in life. And I need to cut people slack. Maybe they do irritate me, but maybe there's other things that are good about them. So I would have to try to evaluate that. Why is the friendship over? Now, are there some things that would stop us from being friends? Maybe there's some character flaws or something that I just cannot be friends with that person, but we have been friends for a long time. I would be following along with what Denise is saying is, you know, they will realize that the friendship is over, but I would still want to be kind throughout the process. Am I busy? Yeah, I have things I have to do. I can't spend any time with you. I'm sorry. They'll get the message without being too hurt by you saying, I don't want to be your friend. And that's kind of where I'm in life. I'm at in life. I don't want to hurt people. You know
Yeah.
what I
And you
mean?
should never have to say, I don't want to be your friend to anybody. But, it just will die. It just,
Yeah. Especially if you're busy, you have other interests and you're continuing on with your life, it's a natural progression
yeah,
that you just don't have time. That's my thought.
yeah. And plus, you'll find that as you get older, I'm 57 now, as you get older, you also get more stubborn and opinionated and you discover more of who you are. So when you're growing up, yeah, you're kind of malleable and can, yeah, it's easy peasy to be friends with everybody. But as you get older, okay, less and less people you want to be friends with because less and less people you will like.
Or
So
tolerate.
yes, you just get to where, you don't need if they, you have your views, you know what's right for you, then they don't feel the same way or they live in a different way, then that's not what you want in your life.
Yeah.
That's some good answers.
Those were really good answers. We didn't even time it that time. We just were letting y'all go and y'all gave good answers. Great. Well, thanks so much for listening and make sure to tune in next week when we have another episode of Mother Knows Best Sometimes. And yeah, we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.
If I
And he's
ever
like,
go to
"Yeah."
jail, I want to be named Big George. So people leave me alone.